Namaste friends, the book for today is The Hound of the Baskervilles by none other than Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The Hound of Baskervilles is the third of the four crime novels written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, featuring the detective Sherlock Holmes. Originally serialized in the Strand Magazine from August 1901 to April 1902, it is set largely on Dartmoor in Devon or Devonshire in the England's West County and tells the story of an attempted murder inspired by the legend of a fearsome diabolical hound of supernatural origin. Sherlock Holmes and his companion Dr. Watson investigate the case. This was the first appearance of Holmes since his apparent death, colloquially referred as playing dead, feigning death, or even playing fearsome. In the final problem and the success of The Hound of Baskervilles led to the character's eventual revival. It is one of the most famous stories ever written. In 2003, the book was listed as number 128, 128 out of the 200 on BBC's The Big Read poll of the UK's best loved novel. In 1999, it was listed as the top Holmes novel with a perfect rating from Sherlockian scholars of 100. The story has a very intriguing plot. Dr. James Mortimer asks Sherlock Holmes for advice after his friend Sir Charles Baskervilles is found dead in the park surrounding his manor in the moor. That is a tract of open, uncultivated upland in Devon or in a county of England. The death is attributed to a heart attack, but according to Dr. Mortimer, Sir Charles' face retained an expression of horror, and not very far from the corpse, the footprints of a gigantic hound were clearly visible. According to an old legend, a curse runs in the Baskervilles family since the time of English Civil War. When one Sir Hugo Baskervilles abducted and murdered his mate in the mires, a swampy ground of Dartmoor, only to be killed in turn by a huge demonic hound. Thereafter, allegedly, the same creature has been haunting the place ever since, causing the premature death of many Baskervilles heirs. Sir Charles Baskervilles believed in the plague of the hound, and so does Dr. James Mortimer, who now fears for the next in line, and that is Sir Henry Baskervilles. Even when Holmes dismisses the whole curse story as a nonsense, he agrees to meet Sir Henry Baskervilles in London as soon as he arrives from Canada, where his branch of the family had moved in the past. He is young, jovial, and a good-looking fellow. He is skeptical about the grim legend and eager to take possession of Baskervilles Hall, the classic Gothic spooky old house which is mysterious, desolate, isolated, very old and lonely, even though he has just found an anonymous note in the mail warning him to stay away from the moor. And then someone tries to shoot Sir Henry Baskervilles while he is walking down a street. Sherlock Holmes directs Dr. Watson to go with Sir Henry Baskervilles and Dr. Mortimer to Dartmoor in order to protect Sir Henry and search for any clue about who is menacing his life. So the trio arrives at Baskervilles Hall, an old and imposing manor in the middle of a vast park managed by a butler and his wife, the housekeeper. The estate is surrounded by the moor and borders the Grimpen Mire. Grimpen Mire is a vast bog deep in the heart of Dartmoor in Devon, where animals and humans can sink to death in quicksand. The news that a convict named Selden has escaped from the local jail and is hiding in the nearby hills adds to the barren landscape and the gloomy atmosphere. There are inexplicable events during the first night, keeping the guests awake, and only in the daylight can Watson and Henry Baskerville relax while exploring the neighborhood and meeting the scarce but peculiar residents of Dartmoor, Watson keeps on searching for any lead to the identity of whoever is threatening Sir Henry's life and faithfully telegraphs the details of his investigation to Holmes. Among the residents, the Stapletons' brother and sister stand out, where Stapleton's brother Jack is over-friendly and a bit too curious towards the newly arrived trio, while sister Beryl, a rare beauty, seems all too weary of the place. Distant howls and strange sightings trouble Watson during his long walks on the hills, and his mood gets no better even inside the Baskerville Hall. Watson grows suspicious of the butler Barrymore, who at night acts as if he is signalling from a window of the house with a candle or to someone on the moor. Meanwhile, Sir Henry Baskerville is drawn to Beryl, who seems to be afraid of her brother's opinion on the matter. To make the puzzle more complex, there is Dr. Mortimer may be too eager to convince Sir Henry Baskerville that the curse is real. Meanwhile, an old and grumpy neighbor who likes to pry with his telescope into the other people's houses, his daughter Laura, who had unclear ties with Sir Charles Baskerville, and even a bearded man roaming free in the hills and apparently hiding on the peak, where ancient tombs have been excavated by Stapleton for an unclear purpose, continues to depress the ambience. Unknown to everyone, even to his friend Watson, Sherlock Holmes has been hiding in the moor all the time and has solved the mystery. He reveals that the Hound is real and belongs to Stapleton, who seduced Laura and convinced her to lure Sir Charles Baskerville out of his house by night in order to frighten him with the apparition of the legendary Hound. Beryl is indeed Jack's legitimate wife, abused and forced into posing as his sister to seduce Sir Henry and expose him also to the fangs of the Hound. Meanwhile, the Hound attempts to kill Sir Henry Baskerville, but Barrymore, the butler, gives Sir Henry Baskerville's clothes to Selden, his half-brother, who dies in his place. Unfortunately, the collected evidence is not enough for the jury to condemn Stapleton. So Holmes decides to use young Baskerville as a bait to catch the criminal red-handed. Sir Henry will accept an invitation to Stapleton's house and will walk back after it is dark, giving his enemy every chance to unleash the Hound on him. Holmes and Watson pretend to leave Dartmoor by train, but instead they hide near Stapleton's house with Inspector Lestrade of the Scotland Yard. Despite the dark and thick fog, Holmes and Watson are able to kill the fearsome beast as soon as it attacks the designated victim, that is Sir Henry Baskerville, while Stapleton, in a panic, tries to flee from the scene but drowns himself in the mire. So, जैसी करनी वैसी भरनी. Friends, this is a very interesting story. If you like detective fiction genre, I would give it 7 out of 10. I need not describe the type of language or the text, which is very well known to most readers. And I would give it 7 out of 10, yes. So friends, that's all for today. Goodbye and see you next week.